If you want to know who you are and what you want, where you want to go in life, the only guide for that ultimately is your inner world and what resonates with it in the form of your mental, emotional, and physical response to certain goals, values, activities, people, and environments. I've talked about that in length in a video on signs for self-discovery, and I received 2 interesting follow-up questions to that video, and I want to address them in this video because I think that they are relevant to many of you here, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and the 2 follow-up questions are: number 1, when we feel inner resistance towards starting or continuing on a path, how can we know whether or not that is a sign that we should stop or resistance that we should work through? And question number 2 is, what's the difference between true inner inspiration that is a sign that we are on the right path, the path that's right for us, and pleasurable experiences that are an escape or become an addiction and are harmful in the long run? A fundamental principle that is behind the answer to both of these questions is figuring out the motivation behind these inner impulses or sensations. What is the motivation behind the resistance? What is the motivation behind a pull towards something pleasurable? And on its most basic level, motivation is of 2 types: motivation to approach and motivation to avoid. So the question is this impulse motivated by wanting to avoid something that you find unpleasant or that you're afraid of? Or is it an impulse that is resonating with a goal, an activity, a value, something that matters to you that you want to approach? Inner impulses that advise us to avoid discomfort over pursuing our goals come from our fears and unresolved issues. This is the type of resistance that forms because a part of your inner world is afraid of losing something: control, worth. It could also be a fear of rejection or failure. This resistance wants you to avoid putting yourself into situations that are relevant to your fear. They challenge your fear. They make you vulnerable. Examples for this type of resistance are not wanting to pursue a promising career because you fear your parents, friends, or partner might disapprove. Not committing in relationships because you're afraid of getting hurt. Not saying yes to an opportunity or project because you fear failing. Not changing anything because you're afraid of the loss of control that is connected to leaving your present structure and what's familiar to you, your routines. Not doing what you want because you fear it makes you less worthy as a human being. Not exercising because you want to avoid sweating and muscle aches. Not taking a break because you want to avoid feeling lazy. The list could go on for the rest of this video. Not only resistance can be motivated by avoidance, but also the kind of pull and attraction we feel towards long-term harmful pleasures. When we feel attracted to something as a way to escape, outrun, numb, or get rid of an inner experience, that's avoidance motivation too. Only that it's not that we're not doing something, but that we're doing something to get rid of something else. So avoidance motivation is not only inaction, it's also action with the goal of shoving away something else that's unpleasant or uncomfortable inside. It's not healthy processing. It's blocking an inner experience, denying it, or trying to suppress it. Examples are excessive shopping to avoid grief, misuse of substances to distract yourself from something that's frustrating you, binging TV shows and movies to avoid the discomfort of doing something that is not fun but part of your path. And it's not only about what we do, but about how we do it. A lot of the things that add to life are helpful and joyful can become unhealthy when we use them to suppress our feelings. And they become less joyful in the moment. It makes a difference whether we're doing something to experience and savor it, or if we're using it to fight something else inside. There's a study called the guilty couch potato that found that when people use entertainment media to procrastinate, in other words, out of avoidance motivation, to avoid the discomfort that sometimes goes along with doing something that matters, that they enjoyed the experience less and also felt less recharged after the entertainment media use, compared to people who used it out of an approach motivation. So both an attraction to an activity or resistance to it or a path, goal, value can be motivated by avoidance and is the type of inner impulse and signal that we should not take as a guiding principle, but work through. Why is avoidance what makes it so unhelpful? Because avoidance isn't a great compass for life. It means that we won't ever reach any of our goals or live in line with our values because we're not pursuing them. We can't reach something that we're not pursuing. If our compass is always directed at avoiding, we need to direct our compass towards pursuing over avoidance. Avoidance robs us of the meaning and fulfillment that we experience when we do what matters to us. And even if our compass is always directed towards avoidance and we make our whole lives about avoiding discomfort, we won't reach that goal either, because it's not possible to completely avoid any kind of discomfort or unpleasant experiences, failure, rejection, or not being in control. I like the term dead person's goal for avoidance goals because only a dead person can achieve avoidance goals perfectly. As long as we're alive, we will go through challenging and unpleasant experiences sometimes. Also, the more we avoid, the greater our resistance to whatever it is we fear gets, because we don't give ourselves the opportunity to experience that it wasn't so bad after all, for the instances in which it wasn't, which is like 99% of the time. And the more we avoid, the more it becomes a habit and we start avoiding more and more. The range of things that we do, our life, the goals that we do pursue, it all shrinks more and more. So avoidance has huge costs for our opportunities, health, relationships, time, finances. That's why it's so important to learn how to be with unavoidable discomfort and anxiety, how to make room for that, how to accept that, how to be willing to go through that so you can do what matters to you and live a full life. If you want to learn more about this skill, you can check out my acceptance playlist. I want to add one more thought about avoidance motivation that is behind unhelpful inner impulses. These impulses can also be directed at generally beneficial activities or activities that are seen as very respectable collectively in society, like philanthropy, charity, or self-care activities like self-reflection, meditation, grounding, and relaxation exercises. If we do these things to avoid feeling inadequate or avoid getting rejected or disapproved of by others, or to get rid of and try to suppress something that's going on in our inner world. That takes some of the joy and benefit out of these activities, and it might be the reason why they're not doing anything for you or only limitedly helping another person. When we act primarily on avoidance motivation, we're not acting from an inner resonance and appeal, but guided by fear. And that can put us in situations where we choose to do things or do things in a way that is not connected to our inner world, to who we are and what we have to give. So on the outside, it may look like we're doing something that's really helpful, but the inner spark is missing. And that way these activities become less fulfilling. Now, what about the part of the questions that asked about authentic resistance that comes from our inner world, that is a sign we should stop whatever we're doing or change direction, get on a new path? And what about the signs that we are on our authentic path, a path that expresses who we are and what we want? I talked about the signs of self-discovery that show us that we are on a great path for us in the other videos, so I won't repeat that here. And concerning resistance, that is a sign that we should reconsider what we're doing. This is resistance that comes from approach motivation. It comes from something in you that wants to protect something that is important to you, that is either in danger of continuously being present in your life or isn't being considered at all. So this is a resistance that wants to alert you to the fact that the path you've chosen is making it hard or impossible to protect and keep in place something else that's important to you, an important part of who you are and what you want. Or it could also mean that the path you've chosen has somehow lost its significance to you. It didn't turn out to be what you thought it would be, or it changed significantly. And this is the kind of resistance that is a helpful sign that you might want to reconsider your choices or adapt your path so that everything that is crucially important to you has its proper place. Thanks to the person who asked these thought-provoking questions. I hope this gives you some clarity and helps you with your self-leadership by making it easier to navigate inner signals and impulses. Consider subscribing to the channel and my weekly self-leadership newsletter for more content like this. Till next time, take care. And remember, it's not only about what we do, but also about why we do it. And the motivation that is behind unhelpful inner signals is the drive to prioritize avoiding fear and discomfort above anything else.